Thank you. Hope everybody. Yeah. Adelaide, but she has trouble with her shoulder, so she may not come. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right.
Bento? Yeah.
And then Bento. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes she joins by Zoom when she can at work.
Sure. Yeah. Well, afternoon. Hello. The DWC 20. Did you hear me? Or are you okay? Oh, okay.
Tell Patty they can't hear her.
Patty,
Oh.
can you be louder?
Okay.
Someone's being dropped
Apparently,
off.
Lucy, they can't hear me.
It's Adelaide.
Oh, it's Adelaide. Okay.
She's just getting dropped
All
off.
right. Make sure she gets a packet. And she's coming in. Yeah, they said they can't hear me.
You just need, she just needs to talk louder or be closer to the speaker.
I will. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, right here. I'll just keep it this way. So, good afternoon. The meeting is called to order. I want to just thank our I want to welcome our members on Zoom. We've got about 25, if they all come, we've got about 25 on Zoom. And I'm not sure what it was for the final 27 or so in person here at the club. So it's really wonderful to see you all. So thank you for joining us today. And a big thank you to Lucy. What would we do without her? Our camera person, that's one of the many hats that Lucy wears. And we thank you very much. So, those of you who are here at the club, you should have been given a packet of information when you arrived. And it shows, it'll give the agenda and the different sheets of, different speakers will be speaking, and you can kind of go through it as they come up and talk, and you can have the information in front of you. For those of you who are on Zoom, I did send out an email to each one of you last night that your information is on the website, and it's there for all of you anyway. So if you have sent, or if you had gone to the website, you could have printed off your agenda for today. So hopefully you found it and have done that. First of all, we had 5 of our friends and members pass away during this past year. So let's have a moment of silence for Joyce Goldberg, Joyce Grahn, Peggy Haglund, Liz Peterson, and Gert Tarnowski. We did not have an annual meeting last year. And so I just thought I would take a few things. Dan put out a little newsletter that maybe some of you got that kind of summarized where we were at that moment in time last year when our normal annual meeting would have been. One of the comments she made was, year came to a close in an inauspicious way due to the pandemic. So our club closed last year in March. Zoom meetings began right away. Kathy, our manager, began working 2 hours per day or 1/4 time, and our staff had been furloughed, all hoping that things would return to normal quickly. We had to cancel our activities, which included our tour of homes and gardens, and hope for a quick return to normal. That didn't happen in a normal way, but we did work hard at staying together and engaged, just different. So here we are now, getting back on our feet, and I am so happy to see so many of you that are here and on Zoom and wanting the same. This club and the women are amazing. We've been busy all year. Now we will be getting even busier with many of our familiar activities. And you'll hear more about it as we progress through the meeting. You will hear many things happening this summer and beginning of our plans for fall. Life moved pretty slowly at first during this past fall and winter, And we didn't know if it'd be able to open. It seemed to be off again, on again. Then they said we could have 10 people together. Well, that doesn't work well for us. So, but it was winter and we couldn't get out much anyway. So we had to wait, and all of a sudden we were able to gather in larger groups inside. We had to know, we will hear from our treasurers what all this means. What all of this means for our life here, because we're down to, I think we have 112 members that have signed on for this coming year. And so I think we're going to have to take a look at that. It'll be explained by Shar and Lois as we proceed through the meeting. Now we will be able to meet on our terrace thanks to the persistence of Mary Overland and others, that we now have the availability of our terrace, our own terrace, to be able to use it for member gatherings and events. I will mention that there are plans being made for 3 roundtable discussions pertaining to our club. The first one is on Thursday, June 17th. It will be held here at the club, and we'll have tables where you can sit, and we'll have some topics of conversation. We'll organize it so that you'll be able to discuss some things that are happening at the club and be able to bring it back to the youth as a whole. So stay tuned for that time. We will have an opportunity to ask questions today and have a discussion. But we do ask that you raise your hand to speak, even on Zoom. The microphone will be passed to you, and we want you to address the speaker at the podium rather than amongst yourselves, okay? So respectfully, we want that to happen. And we need everyone to hear clearly, and we want your voice to be heard. So, this brings us to this next point. I do have the results of the ballot voting regarding the proposal of the sale of the land on the east side of our building. 96 members responded. 8 ballots could not be counted. 1 was unsigned. 1 was blank. 6 members had not paid their dues as of yesterday, May 20th. It was a 71% response rate based on ballots counted and dues paid. We had 2 board members who counted the ballots. Pam Williams and Tartia. Results are as follows. 76 voted yes in favor.
How many?
Of 71. I'm sorry, that's.
Voted yes?
You're right. 71 voted yes. I had 17 voted no. So that's where we're at right now. Now, I have some information, and I had my information.
There's a lot of noise and everybody needs to mute. I'm not understanding.
That's too, but
It's whoever's on the phone that needs to. mute
I did,
that
I muted them.
okay.
Sorry.
But the host should mute everybody.
You know, I don't have my sheet. I apologize. The next steps involve, and I don't have it up here with me, but Ellie, can you just tell us what the next steps involve? From now, what do we do next?
Okay,
She wrote it out for me so clearly.
yes, we have to.
Ellie, if you tell it to me, I will repeat it in the microphone.
Okay, we have to submit this application to City Planning and Zoning along with the check for $414, which I have already written.
Okay, she has to submit the application to the zoning department and with a check for $414, which she has written.
And they review, first of all, to see if the application is complete according to their standards.
Okay, they need to make sure the application is complete according to their standards.
And then they have a meeting to decide to grant or not grant.
Then the planning commission has a meeting to decide that either they grant or not grant permission to proceed.
Great. We missed the June meeting, but we should make it in time for the July meeting.
Okay, we have missed the June meeting. They require ahead of time. They only meet once a month. We are hoping to get on the July meeting.
And I think they're required within 15 days after that to give us an answer.
Okay, within 15 days after they meet, they are required to give us an answer in writing.
Right,
And what would that answer? It would be that we have permission,
right, that we have permission to sell.
that we have permission to sell. Okay,
That's it.
that's it. Okay. I'm gonna call on Karen.
Where would access be for the new property owners?
Do you want me to address that, Patty?
You may, but come up here and use the microphone because I'm gonna repeat her question because in case you didn't hear it. Where would access be for the new property owners? Is that correct? Did I get that correct? Okay. Ellie, would you?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Up there, I guess? They actually have two options. One would be, pardon? Hold it close. Okay. They have two options. One would be from Superior Street. The lot is wide enough there to have a drive. They may or may not want to go that, or on Blank Street, we have from an appropriate easement from a driveway.
Where
So,
would the easement be? Would it be in our backyard?
no, right next to the carriage house, immediately to the west of the carriage house. It's only be 15, well, how wide an easement is 15 or 16 feet, enough for a driveway. So that would be their option. Did I answer that? Okay, thank you. That was a good question.
Does anybody else have a question that we can address right now? Otherwise, we will move on and to the agenda in front of us for the annual meeting. So, okay. So next, we're gonna look at our finances. And I'm gonna call on both Lois Heller, and Lois will be presenting from Zoom. There she is, waving at us. And Shar Taylor presenting from here. So
Let's just change this to. Tell me when to start.
There we go.
No.
Can you all
ahead.
hear me? Can you all hear me there at the club?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Lois, did you want to share screen or anything?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. I'm hoping that everybody has that, either that packet in front of them or has downloaded or can look at
What are you
was
presenting?
submitted.
I can have the monthly year to comparison put up if you want me to do that.
No, what I have is a written financial end of the year report for 2021, for 2020 to 2021. And that covers from May 1st last year to April 30th this year. We actually did pretty well. I'm very impressed with this club and how frugal we've been and how cautious we've been. If you have this report in front of you, you can look and see it's divided. It's a one-page report. And is Marissa on this meeting? Because I made a pie chart just for Marissa.
Right here.
Okay. Well, I hope you like the pie chart, and I'm going to retire from this position, but I will be willing to make charts and graphs for anybody because that's what I really like doing. Anyway, we have divided it, this one-page report into income and expenses. So let me go over our income from last year. The main source of income was almost $53,000 from dues. So that was wonderful that people stepped up and joined the club without knowing what was going to happen. And I hope we've all been pleased with what happened this year. Ways and Means did several different fundraisers, and thank you, Rosemary, for coordinating that and for everybody who participated in that, and got an additional about $6,000. Marissa did a marketing fundraiser and raised some money for that. And then we had a couple of rentals, a special event of some sort. I'm not quite sure what it was, but there it was in the cash flow. And donations from people of another $6,000 to bring our grand total income up to $66,000. We also asked the Heritage Fund for support for some of our major repairs, and we got $5,600 of Heritage funds to cover those. So that counts as total income.
Lois,
So
it's actually 60, it's about $6,400 from Heritage.
Yes, I realized that the Heritage Fund report had a different number in it, and I'm not sure. And Shar, thank you for speaking up. Shar helped me with this, with going over it with a fine tooth comb, and we think we have our numbers right. But this is one, there's $6,300, almost $6,400 from the Heritage Fund. So our grand total income was about, well, $75,000, about. We also,
72,788 is what it
yes,
comes up to.
but another, you have to add more in from the Heritage Fund because that wasn't
No, that
added.
includes the Heritage Fund.
Not the new number. Shar, you and I
Yes,
can
it
talk
does.
about this. We'll get it tidied up. Okay, we also received a payroll protection loan for $20,049, which came at a very good time, and it has helped us get through this year immensely. That part of that can be forgiven. Utilities and salary can be forgiven, and Shar and I worked at that earlier in April, and we were forgiven $11,516 of it. So we owe still $8,600 going forward. And this will be additional income for this coming year. And we may have to pay taxes on it. That's yet to be decided. Not by us, but by the tax people. So those are our income sources. Our expenses on this handout, I've divided into 4 major categories. First is fixed costs, those that we must pay no matter what, and we really don't have a whole lot of control over it. And that includes property taxes, property insurance, and utilities. Without paying for those, we would be confiscated, burned down, or have the pipes freeze. So those are fixed, and that's the biggest expense. That was almost $28,000 for those fixed expenses. That's a shocker. Necessary expenses. These are the ones that we needed to keep to make sure we kept going, and we kept Kathy at quarter time all year. And I think she's done a wonderful job at dotting I's and crossing T's and keeping us all connected. So thanks to Kathy, that quarter time, she's still quarter time, and we'll have to see what happens this next year. Lawn care and snow removal was essential, and accountant's fees we felt were essential. Our budget may be small, but we are complicated in terms of taxes and everything, so we must have an accountant. And so that was $23,000 for those 3. Additional one-time major expenses, we had an income tax that we had to pay for the year before. It came due last year, and that was $4,900. House maintenance and repairs, about $4,600. The tree removal, $2,000. And so the total one-time major expenses were $11,500. That's a smaller amount. And then everything else I just lumped together: financial services, director and officer insurance, office expense, all the committee expenses that were incurred to do the jobs that you all did. That's $7,400. So our grand total expenses were $69,600. Our income was 72,000 something, a little something. And so we have an excess. We came out ahead. So bravo, bravo, bravo. Just as a little note, if we take and look at what our expenses were for the whole year and divide by 12, that says we need about $6,000 a month if we were to amortize everything over the 12 years, about $6,000 a month. So you can take a look at what our budget is for next year, see what we have in the bank, and see how far we can get into the next year without raising any money. We did have about $17,000 that was left over from unexpended sources this year from the PPP. It's still in the bank waiting to be spent. So $17,000 is a very good buffer if we're going into this next year. I want to call your attention a little bit later on in the packet. There is a complicated chart that shows income and expenses, the final for this year, the final for last year. Now, last year we operated fully and were open for most of the year, except for about 6 weeks at the end of the year. And it's called Detailed DWC Finances. And it's got the final for 2019, final for 2021, and then the proposed budget for next year, which I'm not going to talk about at all, Shar will. But I included this so that you could look at it at your leisure. And if there's something specifically you want to know about, for example, what did we make on the bazaar the year we had it? Well, Ways and Means Committee did that, and they made $17,479. Wow. We did not do that this year. We didn't make a penny on a bazaar, except the bazaar and the other things that Rosemary and her Ways and Means Committee put together, and they managed to raise 5,000 something for those fundraising expenses. And then you can see a proposed budget, which I won't talk about. Anyway, you can go through that and you can see income, you can see expenses for all the different things broken out into their specific categories. So that's my financial report for last year. I'm proud of this club. I think it's in very good hands with Shar going forward, and the other people who are involved. Yeah. So I'm available for questions. Okay, if anybody has any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have questions?
Anybody on Zoom have questions? Wave at me. Okay, Shar McConnell has a question on Zoom.
My question is, and I know nobody knows this answer probably, but do we have any idea of when the club will open fully, or even more than it is? Do any date or thoughts about that?
I was looking for questions on finances, but
well, it relates to that indirectly, because that will bring in, more money.
Of course, and I would encourage that discussion to happen today, but I think Shar will be better able to answer that when she talks about next year's budget. So thanks for the question.
All right. So as Lois mentioned, you've got the proposed budget in front of you, there's a memo first that kind of summarizes what we are proposing, and then the breakdown showing the last 2 years plus our proposed budget for this coming, or for this now new fiscal year. COVID certainly has had an effect on our finances and has made it kind of challenging to come up with a budget because there's so much uncertainty as to when we can open, how, what we're going to be able to bring in income besides dues, et cetera. So last year we functioned on a very bare bones budget, and this coming year we are also proposing a very scaled back budget. The hope is to be able to open fully, to go back to our regular programs in September. And I know that there are plans for things throughout the summer. Bridge is slowly starting to meet again, as well as Mahjong, and so we're better off right now than we were a year ago. But we're in terms of activities and being able to use the club, but we still are looking at doing a very bare bones budget at this point. So if you look at that, the first page, or the page that is a memo to the DWC membership from Lois and the Finance Committee, proposed budget for 21-22 fiscal year. So the proposed income dues, we have it set at 50,000, which represents about 143 members. As I think Patty said earlier, right now we're at 112 paid members. So if we don't get more paid members, then this budget is going to have to be, changed accordingly. The other line item we have there, other club activities at 6,700. 6,000 of that is under Ways and Means, and so we're hoping, of course, that we're going to bring in much more than that in the tour of homes, since we are able to do that this year. We're also hoping that we can do a fall bazaar, but we don't know for sure. So we were trying to be conservative in those numbers. So at our proposed income is 56,710. As Lois mentioned, we did have a balance at the end of the year in our savings of 17,000. So that will go towards covering the expenses for this year. So total available funds would be 73,710. Our expenses then are listed there, the proposed expenses, financial services, which include the accounting, bank fees, and then the loan payment on that PPP loan at 7,700. Maintenance, the house and the grounds, payroll for our manager. Again, we're anticipating keeping her at quarter time. However, as things open up more in the club, we might find that she can't do it all in the 2 hours a day. So that again is something that we'll have to look at. But taxes and insurance at 2,100, utilities 7,700, committee expenses at 6,000, and then other miscellaneous expenses. So total proposed expenses is 62,575. Now, if you turn the page and you look at that comparison, the detailed DWC finances, I'm not going to go over the columns that are the final from the prior year. I mean, you can look at that and see how it compares. I just want to focus again on what our proposed budget is. So on that first page, up at the top, where it has dining room sales, we have nothing in there because at this point we don't know what's going to happen. We are not going to be able to open the kitchen at this point. We simply do not have the funds to be able to pay staff. Bottom line, we just don't have it. But the licensing fee that we have there, that $550, that's the liquor license, the city and state liquor license. And we decided or figured that we should renew that because we do want to have activities where we can have wine served and that type of thing. So if we open our kitchen in any fashion, if we bring catering in, or at, by some miracle, have enough funds to be able to hire somebody, then we're gonna have to renew our license to run the kitchen. And that would be another $450. It's not on here because at the time we created this proposal, the thought was that the kitchen would not be open. So then we're looking at the breakdown again of the receipts. So Ways and Means, the 6,000 are dues, renting the building, and contributions. So you then turn to the next two pages and look at the expenses. We can see how that breaks down. The accounting, I will say that our accountant has reduced his fee this past year because they are doing less than we had them do before. Payroll, they process it, or they cut the check, but I pick it up and I sign it and give it to Kathy. It's not done electronically anymore, so that saved us some money. And just, the activity that we have right now, the accountant has adjusted their fees, so that is good to see. And as Lois said, we have to have an accountant, we have to have a CPA do our taxes. It's a very complicated tax return, the 990 and the 990T. Bank charges and credit card fees, that's going to vary again depending on how much usage or how much people use credit cards and other miscellaneous fees that might pass through to us from the bank. Debt service, that's the loan payment. Our loan, the $8,600 balance on the loan that we have to pay. It's being paid over 5 years, 1% interest. So our monthly payments are $183.20. So this amount here represents 11 months of that because our first payment is due June 1st. So the routine maintenance, that amount, that 5,700, looks like a large number, but part of that is to cover hiring somebody to come in and do the house cleaning. If we would go through a service rather than hiring staff to do it, we would go through the service to have come in and clean. We base this on figuring about $100 a week. So that is what that number represents. Snow, the maintenance for the ground thing, so snow removal and the lawn care, anticipating slight increase in that, but again, it depends on how much snow we get next winter. Payroll is there's really basically no significant change in that because Kathy will remain at quarter time. The under taxes and insurance, the nice thing is that our real estate taxes went down. This past year they were 14,160. This year they're 12,500. So that was good to see. Utilities, again, just anticipating more usage of the building going forward. Our electricity will likely go up, as well as heating, because when the building was not in use, we would turn the heat down to try and save cost on that. And then our the committee expenses there are listed in the last page. Yeah, there's really no significant changes there. Some of it's a little bit less than we had the year before. So that's basically our proposed budget for this coming year. And again, depending on what we end up with for paid members, this may need to be adjusted again. So are there any, well, I should finish by saying at the end of the year, if all goes as anticipated, we anticipate we have about 11,000 remaining that would take us into the next year. So are there any questions?
I have a little bit of a thing that I wanted to say about the tour of homes and the budget. We have no idea whether the tour of homes will happen. I'm assuming it's going to happen. I'm assuming we're going to make $20,000 on it. And if we do, great, we can redo this budget at the end of the summer and anticipate different things. And as you plan for reopening, I think that budget will have to be redone at least once more during the year. But this is what Shar and the finance committee put together as how we should start the year with no assumptions. So, or assumptions of bleakness is what we should make.
You know, I can say, I can't give you the exact numbers, but we had put in the budget that anticipating about $500 in donations, but we actually exceeded that quite a bit for general operating funds. We got donations along with the dues for heritage and capital improvement and then general operating. So we've already exceeded that, but again, it's the membership is a real key part of this budget. So yeah, and yes.
Doesn't the tour of homes need an advertising budget or something? Doesn't the tour of homes need some kind of a advertising budget or a budget to print tickets or any of that? I kind of remember that from the back of my head. You don't have anything written down here for a budget for the tour of homes.
Lois, do you recall what is, I know there's $6,000 in Ways and Means. Is that where we put it?
No, there's a budget, a line item for tour of homes. And in 2019, that budget or what was spent for preparing, as you suggested, advertising and all, was 1,192. We didn't put anything in it for this year, and that probably was an oversight because we should have realized we're planning for it already.
Yeah.
But I think it will come out in the wash after the tour of the homes. We'll know what and I think that because we have a surplus, the committee who's planning the tour of homes should go ahead and spend what they need to, still being cautious, but spend what you need to advertise it, to get it ready to go, to get things spiffied up.
Yeah, yes.
We did talk about that at one of the meetings, and what we decided was that because of the bare bones budget, that it wouldn't be a line item for expenses. Rather, we would anticipate taking the expenses from the profits on the tour of homes. So that's kind of was the reasoning, because we did, at that time, we didn't even know if we could have a tour of homes.
Right. I know when we put this budget together, it wasn't clear at that point whether or not we could have the tour of homes.
So, but it wouldn't,
But,
like
yeah.
she said, it wouldn't hurt to have that as a line item, but knowing in the end, it's gonna come right off the top of the profits.
Shar, this
Yes.
is Rosemary. Mary Overland, who's doing the publicity, has her hand raised. Do you want to say something, Mary?
Yeah, just actually, I think it was Rose that I could hear speaking. I do believe that the expenses are taken out of the profits. So that's just the way it is. And so the club doesn't need to worry about that at this point in time. We can't guarantee anyway what the tour will bring in, but any expenses will come out of the profit. So it doesn't have to be done ahead of time. That's all I need.
And that's actually how it's been done in the past too, but we just report it so we have an idea of what it cost us. to do the tour of homes. So it gets into the financial report.
But Adelaide, that is a good point. You know, we did not, again, at the time that we put this together, we weren't sure if we were able to have tour of home. So that is, you know, that's probably one of the reasons why it's not in there. Are there other questions? Yes. Debbie.
Why is the telephone so much higher?
Debbie's question is, why is the telephone so much higher?
Wi-Fi. Our Wi-Fi service for the year.
Right. Our telephone, we get both our Wi-Fi and our phone service through Spectrum. And when their bill comes in, it's kind of split between the two, but I believe that this number here represents the whole thing. So it's a combination of phone and internet service.
Wouldn't that have been the same the past year?
I think in the past year it was split differently, and part of it was put in the utilities and part of it was put somewhere else. Any other questions?
Actually, it was put in office expense. The Wi-Fi was put under office expense. And we've reduced that for next year.
So again, this is a proposed budget. As this summer goes on and we see the results of the tour of homes, and as membership dues, hopefully continue to come in, we will need to look at this again later in the summer. But at this point, we're looking for a motion to approve the budget as it's presented here, with the understanding that it will be looked at again.
I'll move it.
Okay, hold on. Ruth Perry, we have to be respectful. She's trying to write things up. Roberta Klein moved to accept the budget as it's presented today. And the second was Ellie.
Okay.
Okay, so now any further discussion? The motion is that we accept this budget as it was presented today from Roberta Klein, offered the motion, and second by Ellie. Do we have any more comments or concerns on either the Zoom or here? If so, if not, then we will bring it to a vote. Now, voting is a challenge with split people. It's also a challenge because we're all over. So what we had talked about doing was voting by name call, and we could do that. The vote like this, I don't know, is there anybody who is opposed to accepting this budget as it's presented? Because maybe we could keep it faster for this. Otherwise, I'll do a roll call and we'll just take care of it.
Show of hands.
Okay. You can have a show of hands. Is anybody, those of us who approve of that? Okay, a show of hands.
Approve?
To approve.
To approve this budget as presented. It's passed unanimously. Now on Zoom, you'll have to do the same. Is everybody raising your hand? Would you raise your hand on Zoom, please? Can somebody check it out?
Those of you that don't have your picture up can put up the little hand. Raise hand. Elaine, I don't have anything from Elaine Hansen or a couple other phones, but everybody else is unanimous.
Yeah.
I have.
We will accept this budget as presented. Thank you very much. And we'll keep you posted on the adjustments that would need to be made through membership. Okay, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Lois.
You're welcome.
Okay, so, Colleen is just going to briefly go through our special funds, our donations that we received. You all have some pages in your packet showing the special funds. I'm gonna let her talk, so.
And first I'm going to do my program committee report.
Okay.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. It's so nice to see our building full again. To me, this looks really full compared to what we've been seeing the last year. I'm going to start out with the program committee report. As you know, when we closed the building, we had to cancel the remaining programs. We started again in mid-September and decided that we needed to use Zoom. And we struggled a bit, but we mastered Zoom. So we're pretty proud of ourselves. Thanks, Lucy. So we had programs on many Fridays, not everyone, but many Fridays. A highlight to me was the Christmas Memories program on December 18th. And we had a very good turnout for that. That again is on the DWC website, and you can view that Memories program. And I want to thank Judy Arnold and Lucy for helping with that. Recently on May 14th was our last spring program. Again, several programs are on the website. Before proceeding with the fall schedule, I want to take into consideration the responses from the member survey and other feedback. And so I know there were some responses that said maybe we should just do it twice a month. But I think that's something that the membership needs to have input into. And so I look forward to your input, and we'll have that topic on the June 17th round. And thank you for the support given to the program committee during this past year. It's been challenging, but we feel like we had a successful year. So again, I want to talk about also talk about contributions. As Patty mentioned, they're right in front of you. And I think we've done extremely well. Thank you to everyone who contributed. Our capital improvement, as you can see, $925. Heritage Fund, $800. Sponsor, $350. General Fund, $3,100. Excellent, excellent. Then we had Rosemary from the Ways and Means. We've got money donated for cooler shelving. As mentioned, our kitchen is in need. We can't just open it the way it is. Things were rusted, things needed repair. And so we need to replace cooler shelving. We need some carpet cleaning, hallway runners. And I hope that you noticed as you came in the building how beautiful it looks. I mean, things are painted, things are clean, things are shining. And that entryway has all been painted, even that curved ceiling. So please take a moment to look around if you haven't been in the building at all, because the ladies have worked we've had a tremendous effort this year for sort of, reinventing what the club can look like, and it looks beautiful. So thank you. And we've had many members who contributed quilts, knitted, crocheted items, and their names are listed there for you. And our capital improvement, we already mentioned that, and the Heritage Fund. Okay. I do want to mention, we have a written report from Lori Johnson, our corresponding secretary. She could not be with us today, but I want you to know of the efforts that she put in this past year to getting thank you cards and notes out and so forth. And her first idea was in September to send out a DWC postcard mailing to the entire membership. And it just said, thinking of you and hope to open our doors soon. She sent out 13 sympathy notes, 23 thinking of you or get well soon notes, and 52 notes sent out thanking people for their contributions. I just think that's really worth mentioning. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lorraine. One thing is keeping it light, just, did you all get the notification of the morning paper? We have Gordy and Marilyn Lundquist will be also presenting, or on TV, on a program with the, what is it called? Food Networks, Diners, Drive-ins, and Divers. So on May 28th, they'll be on again, doing a second time around. So I just wanted you to know that, because she's been a member for a long time, and not right now, but she had been. So anyway, I'd like to have different committee chairs come and speak as to what they have been doing. Rolene, you've covered yours, so I will move past you, and we'll call on Pam Williams, and she can explain what she's doing in membership.
Thank you. Well, we did still have some activities this year, even though we were closed. We just had them smaller groups. We had them outside, but or we had them so that there were timed so that we wouldn't have a lot of people in the building all at once. But last fall we had a new and a trial member meetup, and in the fall and in the spring we had 2 Cabby, one fall, one spring fashion showcase. We added a little bit of money to Ways and Means. In 2021, we had the spring open house where we had about 50 people come, and that was very well attended, and it was lots and lots of fun. And then we also in the spring fielded a membership survey. And so I did send all of the responses and the comments out to everyone, and it's also on the website. We have some planned activities. We're going to do a catered picnic in June on the terrace in the sunroom, and we can again thank Lynn for her work on opening the terrace. My one focus this year is going to be on trying to recruit younger and still working women. So to that end, Marissa is going to help me do a focus group with a group of women, and we're going to talk with them about what they would like to see if they were to join the Women's Club. What this means is that nothing is going to change for the current members, but we might be adding some things that will attract some other members. And then in August, we're going to have lunch at a local restaurant, and that will include a cooking lesson. Don't have a date yet, but if you'll watch this space on the MailChimp on Sundays, then you'll see the information there. So as Patty said, we have 112 current paying members. We have 12 trial members, and we've had 10 members resign, and 35 members are still outstanding. We have decided to have the board light up those 35 members and make telephone calls. We can get some more members. So it's going to be a very busy year this next year.
Thank you, Pam. Does anybody have any questions for Pam, or are you pretty clear? Okay. Great. Lucy, do you have anything additional to talk about with what you're doing? She has a walk every week with the photo club that some of us tag along and don't do pictures, or we just visit. So there are those. And Lucy, do you want to talk about the tour at all?
I'll make it up. But, oh yeah, why I'm on the board is because of the dining committee. Obviously, we weren't too busy this last year. The report is over. The tour of homes, yes, and the website. The website was the big, hopefully you go on the website. I know there's been, I realize that the technology challenges are real. And then as soon as we open, that's going to be one of my first tasks is to have a session. Just bring your stuff and then we'll figure out how they work. How's that? I mean, that's, because why not? My husband says, that's what you're good at, just do it. Okay, so that's the tour homes. We've been meeting, I don't know, a couple months. We have like 30 people signed up. I didn't know if that was good or not, and I was told that that's not bad for me. So that's good, and Mary Godfrey's been busy getting volunteers. I'm sure she asked all of you that are here to sign up, and it's gonna still be fun. When we, it's a moving target. When we first started to meet, it was like, well, we didn't even know if we could have a tour. Now it looks good, and especially when we have Linda Vanetta, she's on the committee, so that's perfect. We want an infectious disease doctor to guide us, and she said, no problem. So actually, I don't know, the details are on the website. You can go there and see. I mean, we haven't publicized the houses. I guess that doesn't get happen until later. What else? I don't know, questions? Adelaide, you can help me with sponsors now.
I don't, oh, what do you mean?
I'm teasing you. No, I'll call you. I'll call you.
Okay, so but, in regards to the website, well, front pages have not been updated.
Oh, I beg to differ every week.
No, the stuff that's, when you first go to the first page, it's old information on there.
We're meeting here. With all this stuff.
Yeah, it's old information, really.
Oh,
old.
yeah. Okay, I know the
Stuff about
information. You're right.
and Lunches and who you call and all that stuff, that's old.
Well, right, but I guess this aspirational, I guess the thinking there was, it wasn't my call.
Yeah.
It wasn't my call to change that.
But I mean, it's not current.
Okay, let me just address that. We left it there because we didn't know at any point during this year when we would be back. We didn't know what to do about the information. We can update it. And you know what, Adelaide, you are welcome to join a committee that will change that website. That is, you can rewrite it and you can redo it. We are looking for volunteers. One person and one board can't do it all. There's a lot of things that have to be done. So thank you for bringing it up, though. We'll take a look at it. It's probably something that obviously we need to do. So,
Well, the calendar isn't updated either.
Well, there's nothing not much on it.
There hasn't been a lot for the
I
calendar,
was
but
looking for it.
did you get it on the on your MailChimp? And
Oh, yeah, I just.
all right, good point. We will look into that.
I don't know if I want it back. Yeah, it's not perfect. It takes everybody to do it right. And so if you want to just send the information or, that was the other thing is we were talking about this, the technology or the infrastructure for computers or for the website for everything. It can't be I realize maybe I understand how it works, but I can't decide. I will be. I have been. But I realize a lot of the stuff.
Roberta, I have a question.
Okay.
You were talking about the tour of homes. When is it for you? Is it in the fall or what?
July 21st. July 21st, 10 to 4.
Okay.
It's on the, I mean, that, and then we've got lots of publicity going on about that right now.
Can I ask a question? Is everybody getting Sunday MailChimps? Okay, if you're not, I need to know. And I know there's been a problem. I have a few email addresses that I can't get to go through MailChimp. And so it's my responsibility to take that short list and send them out one by one. And I apologize, I get distracted. So remind me if you don't see a MailChimp or let me know, and I'm happy to just forward that on. And I need help from someone who knows MailChimp to help me with that project and help me looking for something. Okay, so just want to make sure you get your MailChimp.
MailChimp, email you get Sunday night.
Sunday
That's the
night.
program.
I get mine from.
Yeah, you're on that list.
Yeah,
You've been on that for a while.
Yeah, communication's always a problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's in life. And then I would say that especially when we haven't been able to meet, it's hard. But we're doing the best we can. And then the tour homes, anyway, I'm excited about it, and I think, got a great committee, and all of you I know, Mary has a lot of you signed up. Should be
Talk a
fun.
little bit about food at the tour of homes.
Food trucks, we have that was the other thing, can we have the club open? Well, no, when we first started, it was like, no, there's just no way that so the beloved sandwich loaf that some of us isn't so beloved. We're okay with it, but anyway, then food is not my thing, right? So Lynn Benfield and Rose, I think Rose, you're on that. Maybe she wants to talk about it, probably not.
I think she's on Zoom.
Right, that's what I mean, she's on Zoom, so she could, but we have 3 food trucks lined up. Del Norte, the Mexican, and Love Creamery. They're just, well, they'll have their ice cream. And then the big one is Valentini's. And Lynn Benfield will be working with her to have a special women's club. So maybe it will be sandwich loaf. I don't know. I'm kind of staying out of that. But again, for all the CDC, who knows about the CDC? I don't even want to go there. But we're going to have chairs set up, no tables, because how do you clean them? All these things. I mean, there's been a lot. It's a lot of things to think about, and it's a lot of changes from years past. And thank all of you for your patience and understanding. That it's but I think it's exciting that we're one of the first ones out there saying we're having an event. And it was in the newspaper just yesterday at Mary, right? New products, so this is good. And this is exciting. And then we've got houses that are going to be on the tour, it's member houses. Again, we didn't know all of these, whatever. I mean, thank goodness it's loosened up, right? Yes, so we're happy about that. And anything else? Evelyn, I've been talking to you.
I'm sure.
I know, I should drive by your house. I said I want to stop in.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's see, let's ask Joy. Where are you, Joy? Come on up and share what you've been doing and what's happening in the building. What's happening?
Marissa.
Oh, Marissa, you were on the list next. I'm sorry, Marissa.
Talk about our good deeds. Okay, so a lot of you I know have participated in community outreach. Thank you. Over the past closure, we had 2 neighborhoods around the clubhouse around the neighborhood. Just finished that up a couple of months ago this year. A group of us went and assembled case fields with Equilibrium. We didn't even count how many. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I've never stapled so much in my entire life. But everyone was very grateful for our help. We did a shift there. We went up to Second Harvest. It was kind of an interesting experience. We conveyor belt style loaded boxes for senior citizens that are low income, dry goods, canned goods, that sort of thing. That, again, a lot of standing on our feet, a lot of moving, but man, did we load a lot of boxes. So that was great. We donated 160 pounds of food to the Chum Food Shelf for the West Duluth Food Shelf in February. Some bell ringing for the Salvation Army. And we also, towards the beginning of COVID, helped Joy and her group do a little cleaning here around the clubhouse. I became very personally aware of the intricate woodwork out on the porch and how much dust collects on it. That was fun. Our current June program, which I'll send out information, I'll send it to Rolene this week. We're going to gather donations for the Spirit Valley Young Mothers Program, which is the YWCA program, where they help and house young women, 16 to 21, who have small children. And they provide them with parenting classes and budgeting classes on how to run a household. And so things that they need are baby goods, personal toiletry items, that kind of thing. So I'll send that to Rolene. And then in July, I just signed us up for the Animal Allies Walk for Animals. That's going to be July 15th. So I'll get information on that out closer to June, whether you just want to donate or if you have a pet and you want to walk, or if you want to rent one of my pets to walk, that's fine. So watch those MailChimps and I'll get that information out. And if anybody has ideas on groups that need help or places that need donations. I try to do something almost every month. So feel free to reach out, call me, or email me if you have.
Thank you. Joy.
The Building and Grounds Committee, they too have been really busy. And one of the things, and in addition, others who haven't been on, who aren't on the committee have taken part in some of the tasks that we did. And one of them was coming into the house, and Rolene mentioned how we did the floors over. We've done the painting of the stairway. Nancy Gregg did some of the staining, and we had the painting done by Diane Harville. And, it really made a difference with what we did just in that entryway. The first thing you see when you walk in. So it was that done. And truly, it was a nice effort when we had a cleanup day here. And we did a lot, and boy, did we ever find a lot of cobwebs and dust that was on that, just out in that sunroom, washing of the windows. And most recently we did that, the dining room, and we still have the kitchen yet that we want to put some time with for it. So that's what I am so grateful for, is the energy and people who came, and so there are people that are on the committee that really step forward. I want to mention Jeannie Bruno. She's our master gardener as well. And she's just really taken on the outside, the planters. She did the mulching here. Bonnie and Tom Mulcher, they purchased the mulch, the fresh mulch that you see, and hauled it down here.
We've lost the volume from the club.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Joy.
One of the things too that I wanted to mention is when we did the cleaning, even all of the paneling, the mahogany paneling has been oiled and cleaned. And so it really does shine. I think we've just done really well with that too. So, a lot more. Yeah. Thanks. Natalie, did you have something?
I was just saying, good job.
Yes, good job. Good job for sure.
All right, Rosemary, do you want to just speak to the Ways and Means, please?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all those creative and talented people that created items and had some innovative ideas for making money. And I'd like to thank all the people that bid on those products and everything that, and just making contributions, cash contributions, which ended up in Ways and Means. And I really appreciate it, and raised almost $6,000, which I was totally surprised at. And I just picked up my hanging baskets from Engwalls or Lilac Hill, and they're beautiful. And we sold 50 baskets, which is another $300 for the club. So I just want to thank all the members who were so generous with their time and their money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kathy Keyser isn't on your list. She has agreed to speak to what's happening with the bridge group and on Tuesday. Sandy, do you want to come up here and then we can all hear you? The microphone's a better way to hear you. You have to go right up to the okay, you have to go right up to right, eat the microphone.
Stand there.
Here. Yeah.
Can't hear, can't hear.
Canasta has already begun. The dining room, I guess, is gonna be moving in pretty soon too. Some people play in the dining room or early on going to return. We have
Can't hear.
We still can't hear it on Zoom. We just hear mumbling. You got to be speaking very clear.
We need to have people, mute their
Thank you.
systems. I noticed that we need that.
We got 3 tables in the porch last week and the week before. It looks like we'll have 3 again this week. Mahjong, we guess, is playing too, but I think it's a different day. This is all due to Kathy's cooperation too. She gives us another hour. Typically, she would work 2 hours in a day. She's just so she can get 3 hours on Tuesday. I don't know what the lunch is. Are coming back a little bit, getting better. And it was nice to reconnect with people. Be sure and watch the website Sunday night for news on games. And if you have any ideas for new games, or if you want to play bridge, give me a call. Questions? Thank you, Sandy. Just a moment's notice she was able to do that. So I thank you because we need to get these things going. And Kathy is willing to do a little extra at either side, letting you in and letting you out and that kind of thing, through timing, and maybe takes a Friday. We haven't been able to change the budgeted amount, but she will on that. So I have talked to her about that. Okay, so now the Heritage Fund Trustees Annual Report with Christine Klingeman, and she is on the on Zoom. So you
can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The Heritage Fund was established in 1986. It was created as a separate fund from the club's regular operating funds to contribute to the long-range needs of the club and to help ensure the future of Duluth Women's Club. Per the guidelines of the fund, only income earned from the invested funds can be spent from the fund for the benefit of the club. Requests to distribute funds must be made in writing by the president at the direction of the governing board. The board of directors are elected to manage the investments and act as trustees for the Heritage Fund. All requests must be approved by the majority vote of the Heritage Fund board members. Serving as board members for this year were myself, Candy Adams, Helena Jackson, Tina Licari, Shar McConnell, Diane Klepitz, and Ruth Ann Eaton. Outgoing board members this year are Ruth Ann Eaton and Shar. We thank Ruth Ann and Shar for their service. Incoming board members are Karen Siegfried and Nancy Auden. We look forward to working with them. During the 2020-21 fiscal year, $6,395.75 was distributed from the fund to pay for the removal of the silver maple tree, for repairs to the walk-in freezer, boiler, and furnace, and for the installation of the new outer screen doors on the front of the house. On the second page of the report I presented, there's a history of all the funds that have been distributed for the various projects around the club, just for your reference. Member contributions for this year were $810. Net investment earnings for the year were $4,228.37. The fund's portfolio value as of April 30th was $109,233.98. And the balance of the investment earnings that we have that we could possibly distribute is $19,904.25. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. Now, we are going to present to you our bylaws revision and open it up. Shar Taylor will be explaining the intent of the committee. And so I'm going to turn this over to Shar, and she will then carry it from here. So.
First of all, I'd like to let you know who was on the committee. Shar McConnell was the chair, Nancy Gregg, who is our parliamentarian, Pam Williams, Patty Miller, Ellie Breyer, and me. So I'd like to make some comments, try and express what our rationale was behind the changes that we are proposing here. So the bylaws committee, when we got together, we decided to review the entire document. Many of the changes that you see in there are more for clarification or consistency throughout the document. However, there are some major proposed changes. I want you to know that before the bylaws committee move forward with the suggested changes to the governing board, the restructuring, I brought the concept of the restructuring to the general board, to the governing board for their input. The entire board agreed that it was a good idea to reduce the number of board members. Therefore, we move forward with the proposed changes to the restructure. Wanted to be sure that the board thought it was a good idea before we went down that road. So I'm just going to talk through some of the major changes. Under officers, the proposal is to remove the corresponding secretary as an officer, and it would be a non-board position, and the corresponding secretary would provide a written report of correspondence to the president, and then that would be included in the minutes of the governing board. The governing board restructure. The recommendation to restructure the governing board and reduce the number of board members was not done in an attempt to be exclusive. I made the recommendation to restructure the board based on my experience at board meetings over the past 3 years. It looked like building and grounds, marketing / communication outreach, membership and ways and means covered what I would consider the backbone of the club. Overseeing the building, looking for ways to get the women's club name out in the community through community outreach, cultivating new members and strengthening existing memberships, and overseeing different events to generate income for the club beyond the dues. The committee did meet last week to discuss the concerns that have been expressed about these changes. We do feel that the Bridge Card Games Committee Chair should continue as a board position. That was an oversight on our part. So we would not be opposed to an amendment or a motion to that effect. One of the reasons for proposing these changes is the fact that it seems to be difficult for the nominating committee to find members who are willing to serve as a committee chair, which is, as it stands now, means they are required to attend the monthly board meetings. By reducing the size of the board, it might be easier for the nominating committee to find people to chair the non-board committees because they won't have to attend those, won't have that added meeting obligation of the general board. We understand that all of the committees are important to the working of the club. Again, the intent was not to exclude members, but to try to improve efficiency. With the declining membership, it is a challenge to find members willing to serve. Many of the members who do agree to serve are newer members. In my own opinion, that gives a new and fresh eye to the various committees and the working of the club. The term limits. The reason for suggesting a change in the term limits is again related to the nominating committee's challenge in finding people to agree to serve. In order to continually develop new leadership, we need the long-term experienced members to serve so that they can help newer members become leaders in the club. The staggering election years for the various committees is basically the same. We didn't change that. We left the staggering years in the bylaws. The changes to the executive committee. Typically, in a lot of organizations and nonprofit organizations, the executive committee is made up of the officers. Our bylaws state that the executive committee shall supervise the work of the manager and recommend to the board for approval persons to be employed, the salaries and terms of the contract for all employees, and the duties and responsibility for all employees are to be determined by the executive committee and approved by the board. The executive committee also reviews all non-budgeted items and submits any recommended purchases to the board for approval. It also is authorized to transact such business as cannot be postponed until the next regular meeting of the board. All the recommendations by the executive committee must be presented to and approved by the board. The executive committee cannot enact any changes or authorize any expenditures without board approval. Eliminating the call for approval by the board. The elimination of subject to the approval of the board was for appointing committees and special appointments. When you look at the bylaws, that language was in those areas. On the years that I've been, the 3 years that I've been on the board, I don't remember any of those ever coming to the board for approval. The persons selected by the president for special appointments are reported to the board. Any important changes or actions will always be approved by the board. So that is basically, trying to cover the rationale behind our proposed changes. So I would open it up for any questions or discussion. Yes.
Having been a past president, I just find that a larger board is much better because you get input from a lot of different people. You're still going to appoint people for all these different chairs. And so they have a less amount of coming to the board for a meeting, which is one of your points. But I think that coming to a meeting, you get to know the people on the board. And this year has been unusual because we haven't had a directory. And so I had to go searching to find out, who's on the board and stuff like that. And I would like to make a motion. I move that all items concerning the Duluth Women's Club Board, which appear in the proposed bylaws, be removed before any vote here today.
Is there a second?
We can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
People can't hear on here.
No.
Mary Evans is making a motion. She moves that all items concerning the Duluth Women's Club Board, which appear in the proposed bylaws, be removed before any vote.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
It's simply, we are not voting on the changes on the board.
In other words, what you're saying is you move that the proposed changes be removed and not.
Yes.
You don't agree with those proposed changes.
Right.
So you're proposing no changes to our bylaws?
No,
to the board.
To
the board.
To the board
I
section.
think that we just need to look at it. Your different table talks, Patty, are just wonderful. And we have a chance all summer long to kind of have a discussion on the areas that, we've got different opinions and it hasn't really been discussed And I think there are a lot of people that want to know. I know some people that aren't joining again. And of course, they're not here. So we don't have their input. But we would, if we told them that we were going to discuss these different changes, and board changes are a big thing. They really are. And I think that if we spend the summer looking at the different changes, seeing if we can work something out, and then perhaps bringing it up again at our meeting in September with a lot more input from the members. This has been a strange year, and I realize that there are a lot of things going on, but I think this is a way to try to solve some of these problems and make it easier for us.
I have a question. Mary, are you just referring to the number of positions on the board?
Well, all the things that concern board members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karen?
I think that the bylaw committee should be disbanded and pick it up again this fall. And I would like to see the past presidents working with the committee, because they're the ones that have years and years and years of experience with the club.
Okay, so before we go to that, there's a motion on the floor by Mary Evans. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Adelaide. Okay.
So do you want to read the motion again, so we can then, we'll discuss anything more, but we'll read it again.
Okay, so the motion is that all items concerning the Duluth Women's Club Board, which appear in the proposed bylaws, be removed before any vote. Motion made by Mary Evans, seconded by Adelaide Klein. So I don't know, Nancy, do we have to? Well, now we open it up for discussion.
Okay, Nancy Auden has a question.
Okay, Nancy Auden.
Nancy,
Okay.
you have to unmute. Nancy Auden, unmute. My dog is barking. I have to.
All right. Okay. I would, I think that I agree to a point with the motion. However, I think we should just have a motion to postpone any vote on any part of the bylaws until the fall, rather than cherry pick out a part of it. I think cherry picking part of it will make it more difficult to figure out what we're voting on. So absent a vote on Mary's, I have my own motion. And my motion would be to postpone any vote on the bylaws until September. But that's out of order. It's out of order because we haven't voted on Mary's. But that's my.
Please save it, because it is out of order and we need to.
I know, it is out of order.
Right, so hold on to that. So we need to take care of the motion that's been made by Mary Evans, seconded by Adelaide. So we need to move, we need to vote. More discussion, sorry.
All right,
okay,
I
Karen.
noticed other things in the bylaws changes that troubled me. It seemed to me like, for example, the manager is excluded from the board meeting. Well, the manager has to be at the board meeting. She's the one who knows what's going on.
Okay, but let's just leave it back. Let's just leave it with the motion that's been made at this point. We can come back to yours, but for now we have to vote on the motion that's been made and seconded. Okay. So is there any more discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Lucy?
Elaine.
I'm sorry, Elaine had her face up here. I didn't see you.
Right, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, in view of what Nancy just said, would Mary accept a friendly amendment to just postpone the vote on everything until the fall?
I would accept that.
Okay, so there has been a friendly amendment suggested to.
Point of order.
you can't have, there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. You either have to vote Mary's up or down. And then if you vote it down, then we can go on to the next, to the other option.
Nancy, in the boards that I've been on and in other processes, if the person who makes an amendment considers, or the person who makes the motion considers a quote friendly amendment, that is a
But
possibility.
you have to vote on the amendment before you can vote on the motion.
Okay.
If there's an amendment to the motion, but in this case, you're basically changing her motion.
Well, it's changing it.
It's not amending the motion. It's basically changing it because she wanted to just address the board issues, not the entire
Right.
bylaws.
Right, and so the amendment would be just to do the whole thing, not just the board, to postpone the vote on the bylaws. So that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, well, that you and I are agreeing of what we'd like to
Right.
see happen, but Mary has a motion out there, so.
But I
Okay,
accept- Yes, I'm willing to accept a friendly motion, which I can do.
And then you can withdraw and
Yeah, you can withdraw your motion too.
withdraw.
Are you okay with accepting? So we have agreed that we will accept your addition. We vote on that first and then you vote on the whole thing.
That's right. Vote on the friendly thing for amendment first and then vote.
it's
Start with the friendly, we start with the friendly motion.
Right.
Which would be addition to the one that we have done.
Correct.
The friendly motion basically changes Mary's motion altogether. If she agrees with the friendly amendment, it would be better if she withdraws her motion and we
Right.
restate a motion.
Yeah.
Mary, can you hear that, Mary?
Yeah, we got it. So just a minute, now Jean wanted to speak, so hold on.
I was just going to suggest that the cleanest way of doing it would just be to withdraw the motion, Mary, and start over with the motion to postpone.
Right.
Well, that's a clean way, yes.
Okay, so
It does the same thing.
what do we?
Mary,
have?
are you all right with that?
That's the same thing.
Okay,
I think, the way the motion was presented and there's a friendly amendment and it can be done parliamentary the way that it's set up. But if you would like Nancy's amendment to become the original motion, I can go with that.
okay, so you're going to withdraw your original motion.
Yes.
Okay.
And that means Adelaide is part of that too, withdrawing her. So
Adelaide,
that's
you're
gonna be-
okay with that.
So,
All right.
so Ruth, if you would write that down, that Mary Evans has withdrawn her original motion. The second had been made by Adelaide, and that will both be withdrawn. And now we will proceed.
And now
And so
I will move that we postpone any vote on the proposed bylaws until the fall, so that we can have discussion.
Okay, so
And I will second that, Nancy.
All right, all right. Mary Evans had already seconded it, but we need to get that in writing, whatever that motion is, so that it's written down. And it's hard when you're on Zoom. Can you write that down, please, Nancy, and read it back?
Here, I'll give a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
well, she's not here, Ruth. She's on Zoom.
But I'll write it down for, if you tell me.
Okay.
Okay. I move
I move that we postpone the vote on the proposed bylaw changes until the fall.
Fall business meeting. Fall business meeting.
You mean the fall business meeting, Nancy?
All right, yes, the fall business meeting.
So we'll read that back. You move that we postpone the vote on the proposed bylaw changes until the fall business meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mary Evans, you're still okay seconding? Okay.
I'm gonna, well, you can sign your own,
Yeah.
but she can, so I'll put Nancy Auden by Patty Miller.
So now, is there further discussion on that motion?
Yes. I would just like to ask what the specific concerns are that would lead to our postponing it till fall.
All right, Ellie is asking what the specific reasons are for asking for the postponement until the fall.
I think it's primarily because of the change in the structure of the board.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to be respectful of Ruth Carey, who's probably not close enough to hear. So I'm gonna repeat these.
Use the microphone.
Okay. Ruth, she wants it would be more respectful of the board. She wants to table it now because of respect for the board. Okay. And that's from Mary Evans. She's tabling, she has voted to table this now until the.
No, she hasn't voted. She's just answering Ellie's.
I know.
I'm answering Ellie's.
I know, that's what I meant that. She's proposing that it be tabled until fall because of respect for the board. Right? Okay.
My
Jean,
reason,
okay, just-
my answer to Ellie is that this is a major change to the bylaws. These bylaws were not tweaked, they were changed in a major way, and I believe that the membership at large needs more time to digest these changes, to discuss them. I myself was in favor of reducing the size of the board when I heard the original proposal. Since then, it's been reduced even more, and that concerns me. So I believe that we need to have meaningful discussion amongst the members.
So if I understand correctly, still, the primary objection is the number of people on the board. Is that on the board? Is that correct?
Is it correct? Ellie's asking that the primary objection is the number of people on the board. Jean.
I would also question the change in term limits. I think that we're talking about a very significant change. I too, when I first heard the proposal, thought about efficiency and thought this would be a good idea. When I thought about it longer, however, the board does more than represent the committees and the work of the club. The board is also the way that the concerns of the general members are brought out and discussed. And I think broader representation provides more diversity. It allows us to acknowledge different groups within the club that need to be represented. And I think term limits are a good thing. I think we want to encourage turnover on the board. I respect that nominating committees can have a problem, but I also think that the job of any good leader or committee chair or officer is to develop new leadership. With the change in term limits, we could have somebody sitting on that board for 10 years. We don't want that. And I think that that's too much to ask of someone. And I think that it defeats the purpose of getting new ideas and increasing participation.
If I could address that just for a moment, I don't think anybody would be, it wasn't the intent that we would allow them to not have term limits. We had talked because one thing that Pam is working on is this membership for younger members. And it came up because what if we're working on a project that kind of getting really into it? And it would be hard to pass that along then, or just to drop it and then move on and somebody else would be the chair. But that was the intent. I'm just telling you, it may not happen that way. Ideally, we have mentoring, mentee. I understand all that, but that was the intent, not so that we would you have unlimited time on a board. That's so you understand at least where we were coming from. All right, Roberta.
It seems to me that if you had limited time on the board, you are active in this program, you could still serve as, not as a board member, but continue to participate in the activity.
Yes, you could.
And you wouldn't need to have, you were on with the board on it.
Yeah, no, I understand. It wasn't in our intention that it would be forever. I just thought I explained that pretty clearly. It was for certain situations and it wasn't for all, so.
And if I may comment, the Heritage Board allows for a second term. So why would it be inappropriate for the committee members to have a second term?
I would say that I'm not so opposed to a second term as a committee chair or whatever. What I would be interested is finding out if we can't do some kind of a limit for the total number of years, consecutive years, that you can be on the board.
In any position.
I don't, yeah,
Right?
any position, whatever, because if you get too many people being able to turn over and turn over and turn over, what you end up with is group think. And I have unfortunately experienced that. And there are a number of organizations in town here that have experienced that. They're very good ones, will allow you to be on their board for maybe 6 years period without, and then you have to be off for, 1 or 2 years before you're on the board again. And that way you get a mixture of people on the board too. You can't just keep on recycling the same people. It just doesn't work.
So that would be wonderful.
These are all comments in answer to Ellie's question. So, and a lot of these comments that I'm hearing are the kinds of things that we're hoping can be discussed at these meetings throughout the summer, so that we can get some input. So, I think I'd like to call the vote. May I do that?
You need a second.
For what?
To call the vote for the motion on the floor right now to postpone.
That's already been seconded.
It's been,
Yeah.
but I'm just calling the vote.
Yeah. Stopping debate, basically what's called.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just, because again, the conversation is getting more into, into ideas. So I think that.
I called the question.
Okay. So the question is called, so all those in favor of postponing any proposed changes to the bylaws until the fall business meeting, raise your hand.
Yeah. I will. Zoom, how are you doing up there? Can I do this view thing?
I think
right.
Rosemary has to do that. Maybe.
Yeah, she can, why don't you come to the room first?
Yeah,
Okay,
I did.
I have to
It was,
unmute. I had to unmute. I'm sorry. Just a second here. I can't see Lorene and I can't see Sue. And Colleen, are you abstaining because you're new?
She's not.
Yeah, we have one
She's a trial.
member who's abstaining, but
Yes,
everybody.
I'm just listening in. Thanks.
Okay, she is brand new, so the rest of the people that I can see are in agreement.
And here it looked like, can you do it again? I think everybody's in agreement.
1,
here.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 out of 20 here.
Okay. Those opposed? 2.
Here
No, wait, wait. Those are, they have to lower their hands here. Okay.
So if live, we have 2 opposed on Zoom. Are there any opposed?
No.
All right. So the motion passes. Thank you all. For the input and the discussion, and it will continue.
Okay. So when we have our roundtable discussions this summer, this issue will be part of it, along with budget considerations. We need you to come. We need your voice. We need you to express how you feel in a constructive way. We will have questions pertaining to this subject and the budget subject, and so we can get, and then one person will be a spokesperson from your table who will come together and present to the group at large, okay? So you have to come if you want your voice heard. We would really appreciate that.
Patty?
Yeah.
I would really like to see the past presidents added to this committee. There's too many new members on it that don't have the history.
Well, can you wait till, when we meet in June, that would be something you could raise with that roundtable discussion. So let's keep those kind of comments and those kind of suggestions, put them on, on a piece of paper so you have it for when you come, so that we can start collecting those ideas. Okay?
Is the thought then that all of these meetings will take place first before the committee reconvenes to look at changes?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that right now. We can talk about it, but that gives us less than a month away. I'll be gone for 8-10 days, so but I could meet without Pam being on for a while. So, but thank you, Karen. We'll get it figured out. But
I get the feeling that, well, never mind. I get the feeling that my concerns aren't being heard.
But they are, okay. But I don't know what we can do right now. We're going to have these roundtable discussions.
I think the board could make the decision to add people to the committee.
Okay. That's a point. Okay.
Yeah, she's addressing the committee,
Yeah.
not the input from the membership, right?
Right.
That would be at the next board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we can bring that up as a, that would be our first board meeting of this fiscal year coming up, so. Okay. With the new members.
Was Sharp finished with her presentation?
Yes.
Okay, because I had questions about the changes to the heritage stuff, and I can address those to you or to the committee. I didn't understand how this was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, the ones that are on the bylaws. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they will all be tabled, so we have time for discussion and getting clarification over the summer. Okay. All right. Jan Stone has the nominating committee report.
Thanks, Patty. I am here as the acting chair of the nominating committee to present the slate of candidates for the positions on the executive committee, the governing board, and the Heritage Fund board. Ruth Ann Eaton was chair of the nominating committee until she moved to the Twin Cities. Prior to moving, Ruth Ann had contacted a few individuals asking them to assume positions of leadership. Therefore, some of the slate was completed before Ruth Ann moved. A big thank you to members of the nominating committee, Claudia Reed, Joy Miller, and Mary Godfrey, who worked under a very short time frame via telephone and email to complete the slate of candidates. Also, a big thank you to the women who said, yes, I will accept that position. Before I officially present the slate, I would like to say that next year, I would really love this to be an open process. If you're sitting there and you've always wanted to have a certain position, please let us know. There are many qualified women in this club who could assume many positions. And if you know of somebody, if you yourself are interested, let us know. We would appreciate that very much. The official slate of candidates for 2021 to 2023. Recording Secretary Deborah Swenson. Assistant Treasurer Elaine Hanson. Building and Grounds Ellie Driver. Dining Room Judy Rocchio. Hospitality Karen Hampton. Bridge, Card, and Games Sandra Kaiser and Mary Crook. Nominating Committee Joy Miller, a one-year term. Pam Williams will be the governing board representative. Heritage Fund trustees, Candy Adams, Nancy Auden, and Karen Siegfried.
Thank you. Now we need to call for a vote.
No, you need to ask if there are any nominations from the floor.
Yeah, and I have one question.
Okay.
I was on the committee last time, and Joy Miller was appointed for 2 years. Her term has been 2 years, and it seems that she's been replaced. And then she's on another committee, but she's done such a great job. Why is she leaving in the middle of her term?
What are you talking, referencing?
Building ground.
The building and grounds,
Grounds.
she served 2 years.
If I'm off of the buildings and grounds. Well, yeah, but you just came on, you had a 2-year term.
No,
Bonnie.
you replaced Bonnie. She replaced Bonnie. So this is Bonnie's term that's ended.
Okay, if it's Bonnie's turn that ended, it was, but buildings and grounds, it's not an office that is elected this term, you know,
Oh, I
this,
see.
yes.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. Mary, that is one of the positions that was before our nominating committee met. That position was already set in stone.
Oh, before you even started?
Yes, before we even started any deliberation. So that is set in stone, so I don't think there's a cause for debate for that.
Okay, because Bonnie was, and so Joy took over her
Yes,
term. That's
yes.
what you're
And
saying.
Joy has agreed to stay on and help, which is, we're very appreciative. She also has agreed to be on the nominating committee for 1 year.
Okay, now that brings up the next thing, the nominating committee and the heritage committee. I talked to Ruth Ann today, and she expects Phil to be on those 2 committees.
She has not expressed that to me, and I would love it if she would do it. That would be wonderful.
Well, my understanding, and this was her understanding, that because she was in the process of doing all these things, she asked you to take over for the end of this year.
Oh, great. She did not say that to me, but that would be wonderful.
Well, that's what she said to me
Good.
today.
Good. So I can be just a person on the committee.
She appreciates very much what you've done. And it isn't something that she needs to be the head of, which the bylaws say is just fine. That the past president does not have to be the chair of the committee. So just hang in there. But I think that she still wants to be there, and she said that she could certainly make it up for the Heritage Committee. And it's just a wise thing to have past president on those 2 committees.
No, Candy is a past president.
Yeah, yeah.
Ruth Ann expressed her concern to me about putting someone on the Heritage Committee that was a past president. And that's why we thought we were so fortunate to have Candy here, because she was a past president and she could stay on. Now, Ruth Ann may have changed her mind since she talked to me, but those were the instructions I got from Ruth Ann when she dropped everything off at my house.
Well, but with the understanding that you would finish up this year for her, because she had all these little things going on. But have you talked to her since?
No, there's been no communication since.
Well, I just think that there should be communication before a ballot. You know?
Is she still a member of this club?
Yes.
Yes, she
Great.
is.
Then as past president, according to our bylaws, she can be the chair of the nominating committee.
Or a member of the nominating.
A member,
Yeah.
yeah, she doesn't have to be chair, but she wants to be a member as you know, the normal procedure.
Yes, it would be nice for her to express that to me.
And also her.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to be in contact with her and I can certainly get a number and call her.
Yeah. And if you don't have it, I've got it.
Connie?
I just had a question, like, is there a membership or is that already been on another ballot?
No, everything member doesn't get filled this year. They're on rotating years.
Okay, so that one's not.
That one will be
You have
next
a
year.
membership committee. Okay.
Okay, so I guess I don't know where to go with the past president on either the Heritage Committee, the Heritage Fund Board, which you, Jean.
I don't think there's anything that prohibits you from adding another member at the September meeting.
Okay, so we can do it then with, on both of them. Okay, thank you. So we'll leave it as is for now. All right. Okay, so we need to have any more discussion then on these,
Or any nominations from. the
or
floor?
any nominations from the floor? Okay,
I would like to correct something.
okay, Bonnie?
I just want to clarify when my term on the Building and Grounds Committee was. I started in 2018 to 2019, so that was my first year. So then I would have gone from 19 to 20 was my second year. So this past year, 1920 to 1921 is the beginning of another term. I don't know if it matters, but technically we're in the middle of a 2-year term.
I don't think you were aware of that, were you, Joy?
No, as a new member coming in, I was still, and I'm still trying to get to know people, and of course we had, COVID, which is, I do it close, so that was my thought, why I really wanted to do nominating, and I wasn't aware of the fact that it was on the second. Seems like it's already 2 years since we're doing it. So that would be 3 years being a building ground chair.
Well, I think you stepped in for Bonnie.
Yes.
For that
That's
1
right,
year,
yeah.
and then.
And then,
And
and
then
did it this
term.
past year too, that's.
Yeah, and
what I
that was
thought
my
too,
own ignorance, because I was in I hadn't really read the bylaws or studying.
I don't think anything was done with this in the code yet.
Well, and there wasn't an annual meeting last year either, so it could have been easily.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's time to call the question.
So, the question then is, do we accept,
The slate of officers.
the slate of officers as they are presented here?
I so move.
Who said that?
That would be Ellie.
It's been moved by the committee, it doesn't need a second.
Okay. So it doesn't need a second, Ellie's move. So we will continue then with our vote. If there's any more discussion, otherwise the vote is before you that we would accept the committees as drawn up by the.
I do have a question.
All right.
Did we clarify the term then of Building and Grounds?
Yes.
It would be this, which they're here in the presentation that Jan and her committee have put together.
So Joy, you have been on 3 years.
Yeah. So she's done now, and we're voting for a new committee. Okay. Can we have,
But this isn't the year for the building and grounds to be elected with a new person, so. Not to be there.
Or just one of those, even if not.
Yeah.
So does that mean Joy will stay on as Building and Grounds Committee Chair?
Don't you think that's up to Joy?
No, Ellie is nominated for building and grounds.
Yes, but Joy is in the middle of, it's the middle of a term.
She started,
I know.
oh, she started being the middle term for Bonnie.
You know, there's been precedents that have picked up in the middle of someone's term, and they have been then taken their own term. So that sometimes for a 2-year term of president, you have 3 years served. This has happened.
Yeah, so the bylaws as they stand now, if there's a vacancy, then the board can fill that vacancy to, and that person would fill out the unexpired term.
Right, and then the nominating committee last year asked Joy to take on buildings and grounds chairman.
So she's in the middle of her term.
Just state that when Van dropped everything off with me, she said, this is the way it is. And she said, I've checked everything. And she told me who she had asked and who had agreed. And she did not say anything about Joyce being on a building and grounds chair. That's why our committee acted the way we did, because we had our instructions from our president.
And the existing bylaws as they state right now, do say that building and grounds is nominated in even numbered years.
So then why don't we have, since Joy is not going to fulfill right now, is not going to fulfill her current 2-year term, then we have Ellie to step in and fill 1 year of that term. And then, then next year you find someone to do a 2-year term.
Yeah.
So
And
Ruth,
that
have you
gets us
got
back
that?
on track.
Do you have that, Ruth?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay. So, is there any more discussion? Otherwise, we will then vote to accept. With the exception of, here, we'll put Ellie as a 1-year term to finish out an unfinished term of Joy. Is that how we word it? Okay, otherwise, can we bring this to a vote? Does anybody want to accept we have to change the,
I move that we accept the ballot.
with the change.
With the change.
All right. A second,
I'll second.
second it, Roberta Klein. And can we have a vote of the people both here that we would accept these committees as presented, with the exception of Ellie being a 1-year term to fill out Joy's half year or half time. Okay, everybody, it looks like it passed. Look up here. And we have to look up here. Okay. I think it looks like it passed. Looks like it passed on Zoom. So there we are. We have this.
Mary, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Well, it just, having been on the nominating committee,
Yeah.
and Joy has done such a great job. I just, I hate that spirit walks the board.
Yeah, thank you. That was something that we
She's
weren't
still
aware
gonna be
of.
on the committee.
She'll be on the committee. She has stated that she will be on the committee, so we will not, we are not saying.
She worked at my house on the tour of homes, and I know how good she is.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want something to fall through the cracks when she legitimately should have a full term.
Well, it sounds like she did because she worked for 2 years. So 2 years filling out for Bonnie and then, so we've been very thankful for Joy. Thank you.
And I certainly enjoyed building because I could, really follow directions.
Okay.
Rather than lead.
We're getting down toward the last section here, just the recognition of the outgoing officers, committee chairs, and trustees. We'll say thank you to Lois Heller for her service as treasurer, Ruth Carey for her service as the recording secretary. Joy Miller as for her service and on the Building and Grounds Committee. Lynn Bentfeld and Lucy Craigness for their service on the Dining Room Committee. And we are not going to let go of them because they have other functions and wear other hats as well. So I just want to recognize them. Maybe we can do a hand, we can clap and they can clap online. Are there and some aren't here and some are in this room. Let me ask, is there any old business?
In one of the former minutes of the board meeting, it said that the duplicate club would not be returning this year. And it didn't say where that came from. And I was surprised to see it because as far as I know, the duplicate club is planning on coming back this year.
Good, okay.
They are coming back, but I think they said it was gonna be a short delay. They were gonna come back after that time.
No, the minutes stated they wouldn't be playing this year.
So they are coming back?
Well, as far as I know, they're hoping to, so I hope that those minutes were not correct.
Okay. We will check and get back to you. It would be through Kathy or through your, the people at the.
Yeah, I've been talking with Kathy and she thinks that it'll work, that.
Okay, we'll make accommodation, we'll work on that, but, all right, anything else?
Patty?
Yeah.
In that line, I would be interested in hearing Linda Vanetta's medical opinions on just card playing in general, because that would affect the duplicate club as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I've never heard any any kind of guidelines for that in particular.
That's a good point. I will ask her to speak to a board meeting. We don't have any more programs scheduled for this season, but if she speaks to a board meeting, we can record it and it can go on the website. We can also speak to it on the MailChimp too. So would that be fine for you? Okay. Okay, so that is to check with Dr. Vanetta.
Yeah,
You got it, okay. Okay, anybody else have any old business? Anybody on Zoom? On Zoom, nothing? Okay. And new business, oh, were you raising your hand, Lois, or just? No, okay. New business? There, yes, Karen?
I have a question on ad hoc committees and how people are put on those committees. I have a suggestion that when you have need for an ad hoc committee, that you put it in the board minutes so that people interested could let you know and be on the committee instead of the same people always being on the ad hoc committee.
Okay. We welcome people coming.
Yeah, MailChimp maybe?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. It's just that, yeah, I mean, I agree, because we want members to.
Yeah, because there have
to be a
been
part of it.
things I have been interested in, but I don't know that there's an ad hoc committee until it's already established.
Point well taken. Thank you. Anybody else have any new business, anything new that you need covered? Is anybody as warm as I am?
Yeah.
So I thank you very much for coming. I think we had a productive meeting. It was good to see you all. We will look for many of you, as many as possible. We'll have tables set up on June 17th. And we'll have questions for you to work on and discuss with your tables. So we're going to work on this over the summer. And if we need more than 3 of the round tables, please let us know. And we can add them. If it doesn't work out, we can add a different day or something. I won't be here on the 17th. I'm sorry, you won't be here on the. Okay, so we picked the Thursday because of the, so the meeting has adjourned. Thank you very much.
Okay, because I can. This email her. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for your work.